Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to get into in today's video, but first, if you would like to receive 1 free stock from Robinhood and 2 free stocks from Webull, make sure to go ahead and claim them by clicking my links, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so yesterday with Build Back Better still not making all that much progress, President Biden took some time to meet with corporate executives from major companies to discuss the social spending package. In the meeting, Biden mainly focused on climate provisions, but he also touched base on child care provisions as well. Biden said that his plan cuts in half for most families the cost of child care, which in turn will help their budgets and help parents get back to work. Of course, Biden can meet with all the CEOs that he wants, but in the end, it's going to be what American people want and what senators like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema want. And right now, Joe Manchin nor Kyrsten Sinema are on board with what Biden would like to see in the bill. Now, some other news coming out about Build Back Better is it now looks like the state and local tax deduction will not be increased in the package. This is something that was a priority for Democrats in higher tax states such as New Jersey, New York, and California. So it should be interesting to see how lawmakers in those states react. Not long ago, lawmakers in those states said that if the state and local tax deduction is not increased in Build Back Better, then in their eyes, there won't be a deal. Being that there's already a small Democratic majority in the House, they really can't afford to lose the Democratic lawmakers in these states. Many people also believe that government spending has also led to all this extra inflation, and therefore, perhaps, no bill should be passed at all. Here is the White House press secretary saying since this bill is already paid for though, it should not impact inflation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just a quick question on inflation. Many people believe that government spending is a big factor in the current inflation levels. Can you speak to concerns that spending plans that come out of Build Back Better aren't paid for and so could mean higher deficits and more inflation in the future?
Aren't paid for? Build Back Better is paid for. Entirely.
Okay. Can you speak to the concerns that are coming in that it's not
Who are the concerns
actually
from though? But who's saying it's not paid for? Because there have been a range of economists saying it's entirely paid for. And that has been a priority for the president. It has also been concluded by a number of Nobel laureates and experts from a range of economic experts on the outside that it will not contribute to inflation. So those are the global experts that we would point to, but there may be others suggesting something else, but I don't know who those people are.
if those bills do pass, it will not raise taxes?
Well, something being entirely paid for means that part of that is the highest income Americans, that companies would be asked to pay a little bit more. That has been part of the proposal and part of reforming the tax system to make it more fair.
So they're also not expected to contribute to future inflation then?
The Build Back Better bill, again, it's fully paid for. We would point to Nobel laureates and a range of global economists who have conveyed that it would not contribute to inflationary pressures.
In some other news, it was announced by Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer that he would be retiring. This will now pave the way for Joe Biden to appoint a new justice where he's already announced that he will be nominating a black woman.
Let me say one other thing. I know there is a lot of news out there today, so let me reiterate something that you heard the president say, and I also said over Twitter. It's always been the decision of any Supreme Court justice, if and when they decide to retire, how they want to announce it, and that remains the case today. So we are not going to have additional details. You are always welcome to ask any questions you like at any time, and there's a lot of news out there, but I just wanted to say that at the top. Josh, go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. 2 subjects. So let's say hypothetically, a Supreme Court justice was to retire and announce it on his or her own terms. Does President Biden plan to honor his pledge to nominate a black woman to the court?
Well, I've commented on this previously. The president has stated and reiterated his commitment to nominating a black woman to the Supreme Court and certainly stands by that. For today, again, I'm just not going to be able to say anything about any specifics until, of course, Justice Breyer makes any announcement should he decide to make an announcement.
Later on, Jim Psaki was asked if the current Vice President, Kamala Harris, would be considered to be the nominee.
What preparations is the White House engaged in broadly in the case of a Supreme Court vacancy?
I'm just not going to detail any of that from here.
Unrelated to this, you can't detail what, like, doesn't every White House like to get ahead of this in case of a sudden passing in the case of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? None of that you can share?
I'm not going to detail internal planning from here, no.
Okay, then let me ask you a couple other questions. Is there any scenario in which the president would select his Vice President Kamala Harris for the Supreme Court?
Again, I'm not going to speak to any considerations, preparations, lists, and as we've stated earlier, and you heard the president say, there's a long history of Supreme Court justices determining when they may retire, if they retire, and announcing that. And we're going to, that remains the case today.
In some other news, the Federal Reserve announced that it could soon raise interest rates for the first time in more than 3 years, as soon as March. Soon after, what was once a green day in the market quickly turned into a dip. Here is the Fed Chairman Jay Powell being asked if rate hikes at consecutive meetings are on the table this year.
Thank you. For the first question, we'll go to Chris Rugaber at the Associated Press.
Thanks, Michelle, and thank you, Chair Powell. So it's expected that the Fed will hike rates perhaps every other meeting, but certainly in the past, the Fed has hiked at every meeting. So I just wanted to ask, are rate hikes at consecutive meetings on the table this year? Is every meeting a live meeting? And on that note, would the Fed consider front-loading some of its rate hikes, even if it doesn't raise every meeting? Thank you.
Thanks. So as I referred to in my opening statement, it is not possible to predict with much confidence exactly what path for our policy rate is going to prove appropriate. And so at this time, we haven't made any decisions about the path of policy. And I stress again that we'll be humble and nimble. We're going to have to navigate cross currents and actually two-sided risks now. And I'll say also that we're going to be guided by the data. In fact, what I'll say is that we're going to be led by the incoming data and the evolving outlook. We'll try to communicate as clearly as possible, moving steadily and transparently. So, more to your question. We know that the economy is in a very different place than it was when we began raising rates in 2015. Specifically, the economy is now much stronger. The labor market is far stronger. Inflation is running well above our 2% target, much higher than it was at that time. And these differences are likely to have important implications for the appropriate pace of policy adjustments. Beyond that, we haven't made any decisions.
Thank you. Let's go to Victoria Guida at Politico.
So at this time, no decisions have been made, but this will be something to keep an eye out on. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive 1 free stock from Robinhood and 2 free stocks from Webull, make sure to go ahead and claim them by clicking my links, which you will find in the description box below. So once again, I do hope that everyone has a great and safe rest of their day, and per usual, I'll see you in the next video.